housing, through to maintaining benefits and social justice. What would you and your party do to improve the lot of those in need? Chris, would you like to start us?
Well, listen, I was very fortunate and able to work for the Jubilee Debt Campaign as their interfaith officer. And so I've seen the generosity of particularly church groups and other faiths that work together to support their people in their communities, but also people abroad who are suffering. And of course, right now we have a huge amount of suffering in the Middle East that I know many people in this church and many of the churches and faith groups across this constituency are helping to support people who need it the most. But if I'm frank, there are too many people in this country who are facing economic and social challenges that shouldn't be. They're working hard, they're playing by the rules, they're doing everything that they were taught when they were young about you need to work hard, you need to get on, you need to fight for your family, you need to be able to achieve things, you need to build a new life for your family. I meet people who are in their 30s who have a job but can't buy a house. They never will be able to enjoy that satisfaction of home ownership. I meet people who are working 40 hours each, but if during the week it's cold, they don't put their heating on, they only put it on when their grandkids are visiting. I meet people, single parents who are working every hour that they can, but if it wasn't for their relatives looking after their children for childcare in the day because costs are so high, they wouldn't be able to work. And so I was brought up about believing in aspiration. I was brought up about believing that hard work got you the things that you deserve and can enjoy. And right now, work doesn't pay in this country. Work doesn't pay for those people who are putting in the hard yard every day. And so we need to raise wages, we need to lift people out of poverty, we need to improve the opportunity to gain education, we need them to be healthier and access to neighbourhood health services, because that is often the source of many of the social problems that we face in our society. Poor housing, poor pay. We can help those people by letting them help themselves, and I think government has a role in not demonising those people. I can't quite believe that in this constituency, in this country, the number of people that will have food banks to get by. Those are hard-working people. Some of them are the people that we clapped when we clapped for the NHS, are having to rely on food banks to get by. That's not right. And whilst I applaud the work of the people in this church and around this constituency, we've got to make life more affordable again in this country. We've got to make work pay, and we've got to let people's hard work mean that they can reach their aspirations and their dreams and for their families too. Well, I've spoken so long, I didn't myself like this.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Rachel, how would you combat things like loneliness, housing crisis, maintaining benefits and social justice? What would you and your party do to improve the lot of those in need?
I'm a practicing Christian, and that guides me in everything I do. It guides me and helps me every single day in my service. And I grew up as the daughter of an NHS GP, and so I have some very deep-seated motivations about why I've been privileged enough to do this job for the last 7 years. And after that, it's in the hands of the electorate. So I will continue working with my party or whoever is in government to make sure that we think about the people who don't have a voice, in the same way that those of us on this platform have a voice tonight, and our colleagues have voices in Parliament and in other places. It's not a question of top-down solutions or one-size-fits-all. I believe that inside every single person there is a unique set of qualities and characteristics that will enable that person to achieve success in life. I don't believe that we in the government should prescribe what those things are, but I believe we should think very carefully about what the ladders will put in place for every single person. And we should start from the premise of education for our young people. Because it's only through giving people that opportunity of education that we will even up and level up some of those barriers to success and achievement and happiness for people. Because we all know that some people are really lucky to be born into a good family, a good set of economic circumstances and a comfortable life, whereas others are not so lucky. So what we should really do is think every single day about how do we help those people who are not so lucky. Because we all want the best for our fellow citizens in this country. So I'll continue thinking about those people every single day if you really But actually what I also know about Town Like Greenwich is we have been recognised as having some of the highest levels of volunteering and community service in the country. That was a survey that I think was produced about 3 years ago. And I'm sure everybody in this church tonight will be involved in something of that nature in your own community. And I think as a government what we need to do is we need to empower those people, we need to help them. Sometimes it's a small grant, sometimes it's a property, sometimes it's a tax break. There's a whole number of schemes. And one of the great privileges and pleasures of my life as an MP has been enabling some of those groups.
Sorry, I asked the question. I'm going to have to cut you off now. Sorry about that. David?
Yeah, thank you. I've lived and worked in many different places around the world and also in the UK. And my experience is that the UK is the best place in the world to live, to be a citizen. I really firmly believe that, and I'm very proud to be a British citizen. But that doesn't mean to say that everything's perfect. And as some of my colleagues have said, we just need to get together and try and resolve some of these things around the table almost, because it's a complex world and we might need complex solutions. But at the moment we are in my view, the best country to live in the world. But having said that, within the country we need to have a greener aspect and a greater respect for what is around us and for nature. And nature can't vote, but you can. And I firmly believe that would be the bedrock of improving society and the benefits of living in this fabulous country.
Okay. Thank you very much. Amin?
I think one of the key issues here is integration between different communities within a larger community. I have already been endorsed with the largest mosque in Rage and this church in fact to see if there could be some interfaith meeting which could take place in the presidents elected or unelected. Just to kind of help, I think education between different communities of each other's ways of life, for example, is key to making everybody understand we are all people, we are one community. And I think where I've seen that happen before, it has addressed loneliness. People can happily come to this beautiful church, which I know all Robin tells this building is amazing. They can go to a mosque, whether they are a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or anything else, and just know that they are not alone. We are all part of this community, and we are all human beings and brothers and sisters, and we need to be able to communicate. If there aren't only lonely Christians or lonely Jews or lonely atheists, there's lonely Muslims as well, Hindus as well, Sikhs as well. People just looking for a kind ear sometimes, and it goes a long way. In terms of the social issues, I think a lot is right now, I'm hopeful that everybody will agree that the way cost of living has increased, those of us who are working, the wage and the living wage has not increased in line. This is a big problem. I spoke to a nurse, and she knew her father. She works at the Alex. She said, I do double shifts. Yet, to feed my own children, I have to go to a food bank. I grew up in a nation where I have never heard of the word food bank or phrase. It doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. If there's a need, it should be there, it should be more. But we used to live without having to go to food banks before. We were okay, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm born and bred here.
be taken away if they earn a penny over an arbitrary amount. So first of all, we'd love to raise the amount that they can earn before they lose their carer's allowance, and then ensure that it doesn't just disappear, that tapers off, gives them an incentive to work more when they can, and provide for themselves. But we also want to guarantee respite care for these carers, because caring for a family member 24/7 is a hugely draining job. Now that's not going to fix everything in social care. For that we need agreement across all parties. So we would establish a cross-party commission so we can agree a long-term funding plan that everybody can get behind to fund social care, because that's exactly what we need. Lastly, I want to touch on mental health. At a young age, we want mental health professionals in all of our schools, so all of our children have access to those services when they need them. And then throughout life, give people mental health checkups, just as you might go to the GP for a physical health checkup. You can go and get a mental health checkup. That's going to help a whole load of issues from that cause things like loneliness. Mental health issues can cause you to isolate yourself. So having those services available and advertised to people will help bring people out of these, or will help them not even get into these situations in the first place.
Thank you. Julie, would you like to answer the question?
Okay. I'm going to talk to shelter, obviously for Redditch. You know, the figures, 58 homeless, sleeping rough, 50 kids in temporary accommodation, greater than 1,000 on the waiting list. You know, and they ask you to make pledges to resolve all of this overnight. You know, this is a problem that's going to get worse. You know, if Redditch's population is 87,000, 90,000 and it's increasing, landlords are moving out of the private sector, there's going to be more homeless people. The council are building enough social houses. I think there's only 40 built recently. So that is a massive issue. Short term, okay, I said earlier, let's do something quickly. Let's repurpose vacant buildings to get these people a home, because a basic human right is shelter and warmth. It's a basic human right. You know, we need to be a more compassionate society. And what the politics of the last 14 years, dare I mention that word, has shown me, is that we become polarised. You know, it's just trying to score points against each other. And I don't want to live in a polarised society. I think, you know, when we find out the facts, we have to try and do something about it. When I look at loneliness and mental health, you know, in Redditch, 0 to 15-year-olds, you have the highest percentage in the country, and yet you have no youth centres. Really? What are these kids doing? I mean, is it antisocial behaviour? Is it what we saw the other week, where there was 3 guys with machetes trying to slash someone on Plymouth Road? Goodness me. You know, and then you talk to the older people, and they're frightened to go out at night, because they see things like that. And that just makes their loneliness worse. So we have to tackle antisocial behaviour. I think the figures for Redditch are something like 17% of crime is antisocial behaviour. But when you see things like that on the streets, I wouldn't want to go out. Yeah. So I know we have a blue light tub. You know, this fire station, police station, you know, which has been decimated over the years since 2013. It's finally coming back. But do we have holding cells? Do we have detention centres? Or do the police have to go to Kidderminster when they find a violent criminal, take him there, interview him, do whatever, come back an hour later? All that time is not on the streets. So for me, we need to give older people the ability to go out at night without fear. That will help their mental health. And we need to give young kids something else to do other than sit on their smartphones, taking drugs, whatever.
Okay, we have time for one last question, because you know, there's